Welcome to Bubba Rob's Carnivore Journey. Hello everybody, it's Bubba Rob. How's it going? It's weigh-in today. Or we'll find out in a minute. There's a couple things I want to talk about before I get into my weight, which I think is quite important in dealing with my journey. Okay? One is, you have to have a sense of mental toughness, at least for me. And also, I want to talk a bit about how we deal with the addiction issue with it if we have a slip. That makes sense. So I got a couple of stories for you. We'll fish you in. I promise they're good ones. And then we'll get to my weight. Okay? Because my birthday's coming up this week. We'll see how close I am to my goal weight. Anyways, the one thing about myself that, and I'm not saying this as a sense of ego or anything, but the way I was brought up, there's no excuse not to go to work. There's just not. I mean, I remember when I was 18 years old, I hung out with a couple Irish Newfie brothers, Slim and Shorty, and geez, I tell you, we used to do some pretty stupid things. One thing we would do is, can't believe my parents might see this. We'd get I guess what in Wayne's World they call like a Joe job, where you're working at a diner or a gas station or something like that, and basically making slightly more than minimum wage if you're lucky. And what we would do is, before your first day of the job, no matter who it was, we would go and party and get absolutely wrecked. And it was kind of like a rite of passage to show up and go to work the next day and survive and not get fired. We did that a couple times, so we stopped doing it. It was kind of a stupid thing to do, but in retrospect, I'm kind of glad we did it. For the simple reason, even though we were being irresponsible by drinking the night before, taught us a valuable lesson that you had to go to work. No matter what the circumstances were, you had to go to work. Right? It's the same as like the carnivore journey. No matter what the circumstances are, you have to put the work in to succeed in the diet. Now, it doesn't have to be the carnivore diet. Whatever your life changes, I hope people understand this. When I'm talking about these things, it doesn't make a difference if it's in your diet or working on other things with your life. You have to get up and move forward and suck it up. Now, I know some people won't like that. Some people don't like the way I talk sometimes. But it's the absolute truth. I remember I was working on this house. We were there for, 5 or 6 months. And we're waiting for the city and the municipality we were working at to get permits to do the perimeter drains. And I already dug this other foundation out, and we did a sewer hookup and all this stuff. And God, it took, 3 months or 4 months. They just kept screwing around. And we finally got the permit we were supposed to get in June. It was actually in November. And my son was working for me, and he was staying with me. And there was an absolute torrential rainfall. Like I said, it was late November. probably about maybe 5 degrees Celsius out, which is, I don't know, in the 40s Fahrenheit, maybe 40 degrees, 42 degrees, something like that. It was cold, it was wet. And I woke up and I was so glad my son was staying with me. I had this absolutely brutal gout attack. So I phoned my friend up who's a contractor, Charles. I said, I can't come in today. I can't even get to the bathroom. He said to me, he says, Robbie, you gotta go. You gotta go. Her house is flooding. I just got a call. And I said, oh, I can't go. He says, oh, you gotta go. You gotta go. So I called my son and I got him to grab a bag of ice for me. We wrapped my foot up. And then when the swelling went down to get me into my work boot, the work boot went on. Drove into where my dump truck was. Hopped into my dump truck, which was extremely painful. Drove down there. I got my excavator. And I was in that machine for 8 hours straight. I couldn't even get out to go to the bathroom. Digging that out. And it was brutal. Torrential rain pour. I had my door wide open and my leg hanging out of the machine because I couldn't get it in the machine because of the pressure on the foot. And I dug that house out so it wouldn't flood. My son said to me after, he got back from Japan, and I asked him, I said, what made you work so hard? And he told me, he said, Papa, he says, when I saw you work with your leg hanging out in that weather, he says, I knew how hard I had to work when I was in university. That actually made me cry. And normally when I talk about it, I actually do cry. But you have to channel that energy in you to do what you have to do to succeed, to move forward, to make it all work. I've failed many, many, many times on things, on diets, sometimes for reasons not in my control. A lot of times they were in my control. Usually the biggest thing that ever failed me was my mindset. Dealing with the carb addiction or depression or with the PTSD. A lot of times I didn't quite even understand what was going on and why things wouldn't work out. But what I knew was, if I always got back up one more time than I went down, there was always hope. Always hope to succeed. So I hope people out there, if you're feeling down, if you've had a slip, just shake it off and get up the next day. Don't worry about it. I actually sent somebody an email yesterday who's having an issue. He didn't respond back. I wish him the best. I'm not going to mention who it is on here because we don't need to bring those things up. It's up to them. They have to deal with it, and there's no way I'd ever want to put something on a video that may cause somebody to feel worse or maybe a little bit of shame or anything like that. They got to get their shit together. And they'll do it. I'm just being blunt about it. It is so important to deal with the mental aspect of addiction. And in the place where I used to work years ago in the correctional center, I dealt with many, 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 many people coming off things, I would say, a lot worse than carbs. I know people get on here and talk about how carb addiction is more powerful than cocaine and sugar addiction and stuff like that. You know, I saw some people go through some tremendous stuff. Two of the worst ones I ever saw, one was somebody coming off a pot who's a chronic pot user. The other ones that were people were coming off of methadone. I don't know how many times I ran into somebody when I was working at the jail that was basically shitting themselves all over their cell because they had no control over their bodily functions. To me, that's way harder to deal with than, you know, feeling bad about having a French fry. That's, you know, not making a light of anything too much, but, you know, maybe it's just haven't had it bad enough. I don't know. And, you know, something else I'm going to say, and people aren't going to like me saying this. I'm sure I'm going to lose subscribers, but I really mean this. I'm going to say it in a couple ways here. I really believe you have to use every tool in your toolbox to succeed when making a change, especially with your diet, right? It could be studying philosophy, it could be reading the Bible, it could be therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, it could be all sorts of stuff. It could be going to a 12-step group or something, but something needs to be in place to help you, to give you support. One of the things I've learned, if a therapy is taking you down the road to where you're reliving the past all the time, that's not good in my opinion. I've been there and it never made me better. Absolutely not. I believe you have to deal with things, but at some point you have to move on and let things go and let things pass. And this is where people aren't going to like me. I know people talk about it was divine intervention that led them to the diet, which is fine. I get it. Maybe that happened for me. I don't know. I don't discuss my religious beliefs on here because it's nobody's business. If other people wish to, that's fine. But if God led you to the carnivore diet, He should be leading you to therapy and getting the strength to put your mental health together to succeed. Okay? That is the truth. You can't stay a victim and leave things up to an entity without putting the work in. In my opinion, it just doesn't work. At some point, you're going to have a trigger and it's going to cause you to have an issue, and you got to know how to deal with those triggers and not hide from your problems so that you can be successful. Okay? That's just my opinion. You don't have to like it. You can unsubscribe. You can do whatever you want. But that is my truth, my belief that you have to be able to do that. I have seen so many things in my life, way more than most, I believe, to know that. Okay? Let's be positive. Get the help you need. Put the time in yourself. Succeed with your change, okay? So anyways, getting to my weigh-in. Last week was a brutally hard week. I know I mentioned it on previous videos. I I'm not saying this looking for sympathy. And again, sympathy is between what? Two words in the dictionary? Shit and syphilis. So, we don't use it. Okay? Doesn't work. Gotta watch a John Wayne movie and get those thoughts out of your head. Okay? But I had a really severe gout attack, and at the same time, I had plantar fasciitis. I could not walk. I'm still hobbling a week later. I could barely get to the bathroom to use the toilet. It was brutal. I was going to go to the hospital and call a cab. I could not get to my door. I stayed at home. I got ice when I could. My dad came and gave me a hand. When my son came home from work, he helped me out. That's how I got through it. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do about my weight loss? Because I've got a goal. I want to hit 315 by my birthday. That's on the 22nd. I think that's next Thursday. You know, I was like, oh God, am I going to make it? Is my weight going to go up? I'm having to take these anti-inflammatories. I was taking colchicine like 5 a day for the first 2 days, and it just played hell on my stomach. It was awful. I couldn't eat properly, none of that stuff. Couldn't train, wasn't getting any exercise. If I would have felt 10% better, I would have probably gone to the gym. You know, I just couldn't do it. So when I got up this morning, my eyes were like this. I was like, oh God. Got on the scale, weighed myself. Lo and behold, I was 318. Wow. Last week I was 320. So the end of my 25th week, I'm 53 pounds down. So I'm going to take that as a huge victory, because this last week was a complete write-off. But you know, the one thing I was thinking about when I was sitting here watching Ted Lasso on Apple TV, which helped me out a lot, is well, maybe this is something I can use some intermittent fasting on. I really couldn't eat. And you know what? Whatever was going in me with that colchicine, it was just shooting out like a pressure hose or a pressure washer. It wasn't a good thing. But anyways, so it was success. Am I going to hit 315 in another 5 days? I really, really, really doubt it. But you never know. It could happen. But tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, I'm going to be getting up, having my breakfast, getting my son's breakfast ready. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do at least 20 minutes to half hour cardio. I'm going to do my yoga stretches, and I'm going to start doing a split routine. And then I'll go back tomorrow night and train chest and triceps with my son. And then I'm going to try and get 6 cardio sessions in a week, 4 weight sessions, and see how it goes. You never know. I haven't given up. I don't want you guys either to. Keep moving forward, okay? So I guess I better go now. So hit the please like, share, subscribe. I'd appreciate it if you stayed this long. And oh yes, to be a good person, good stoic, good carnivore, good bluesman, good biker, good rainbow warrior, whatever your is, the most important thing is to be kind, be truthful, be compassionate to others. If you see somebody struggling on this journey or on their journey, Lift them up. Have some empathy, but not sympathy. Take them aside if they need it. Pump them up. Tell them not to worry about today or yesterday. It's over with. All we got is tomorrow. Moving forward. Okay? Love you all. I hope you all have a great night. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.